Hello and welcome to Bottom Line. Tonight, viewers, we discuss the working culture in government offices across the region, across the 8 states of the region. Well, working culture in government offices have long been a topic of discussion. Well, we're not trying to say here that the government employees do not work, but whether they're delivering to their optimum level has always been a question of debate. State governments now are also looking into the matter, and several states are taking steps to ensure that the government employees do deliver and the public doesn't face any issues. From Assam to Sikkim to other states, we have heard chief ministers taking this issue up and asking the administrators to give directives to government employees. The latest of that comes from Sikkim, the Himalayan state of Sikkim, where Chief Minister P.S. Tamang has announced that a separate department will be formed where all the non-performing employees will be accommodated. Those who are non-performing could be of any rank, from the additional chief secretary level to accounts officer. It could be a peon in the office. It could be at any level, mid-level, higher level, low level. Anyone who is non-performing will be sent to that department. In Assam too, we have had Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma taking a lot of steps to ensure that the working culture improves in government offices. The latest move by the Assam government was a directive given to the state government employees that no one will be able to leave the district headquarters, the district where they are working, without the permission of higher authorities, without the permission of the deputy commissioner. So these are some of the steps that the governments are taking, but are these enough, and will it imbibe the much needed work culture? Before we go into the discussion, let's quickly listen in to what the Sikkim Chief Minister P.S. Tamang had to say on this separate department, the creation of separate department.
त्यो डिपार्टमेन्टमा चाहिँ जस्टिस कुनै पनि विभागमा काम गर्दैन, अब्स्टेकल बनिन्छ। हाम्रो युवा भाइ बहिनीको, सिक्किमेहरुको अब्स्टेकल, बाधा बनिन्छ। चाहे वो इन्जिनियर होस्, चाहे वो एकाउन्ट सेक्सनको होस्, एकाउन्ट अफिसर होस्, चाहे वो डाइरेक्टर होस्, सेक्रेटरी नै किन नहोस्, त्यस्तो डिपार्टमेन्ट सबलाई ट्रान्सफर गरिदिन्छ। अनि गाडी पनि दिन्न, गाडी पनि नदिने, तलब दिने, हैन? किनभने एउटा डिपार्टमेन्टमा जस्तै 10 जनाको एउटा टोलीले एउटा काम गर्छ, एउटा डिपार्टमेन्ट छ 10 जना, है? एक दिनमा हुने काम त उसले 15 दिन लगाइदिन्छ। अनि लगाइदिन्छ कि यो त 1-2 दिन अब राखिदिन्छ फार। त्यसले गर्दा त 8 जनाको त है तपाईको जुन क्यापेसिटी छ काम गर्ने, त्यो त गइहाल्यो नि 2 जना। त्यो 2 जनालाई साफ गरेर त्यो डिपार्टमेन्ट थन्काइदिउँ भइहाल्छ। अन्त क्लियर लाइन क्लियर नि। कहीँ पनि हामी जान्दैछौँ भने बाटोले के अरे बाटोमा ढुङ्गा हामी पन्छाउनै पर्यो नि। अनि त्यस्तो खालके पन्छाउने डिपार्टमेन्ट क्रिएट गर्छु म। अनि तपाईँले पनि आइडिया दिनुहोस् त्यो डिपार्टमेन्टको नाम के हुनुपर्ने। सबै जो काम गर्दा तिनीहरूलाई पठाइदिन्छु सबैलाई, चाहे होस् एसिएस नै, एडिसनल चिफ सेक्रेटरी नै किन नहोस्, प्रिन्सिपल सेक्रेटरी नै किन नहोस्, या एकाउन्ट अफिसर नै किन नहोस्, सेक्रेटरी नै किन नहोस्, त्यसलाई त्यहाँ लानु पर्यो नि त। त्यो चाहिँ हामी गर्छौँ, किनभने यो चाहिँ जनहितको लागि गर्नुपर्ने छ र पक्का गर्छौँ है। अब हामी अलिकति हामीले अहिलेसम्म सफ्ट कर्नरमा है ठिकै छ, चल्दैछ है। अब जति पनि तपाईँको हामीले पहिला एरियरहरू रोकेकोमा हामीले दिउँ, प्रमोसन पनि दिएकै छ है। तपाईँको उहाँहरूले प्रमोसनहरू माग्दाखेरि चाहिँ तपाईँको अफिस सेटिङमा मागिहाल्छ। अनि उहाँले काम गर्दा पनि अफिस सेटिङमै काम गरेको हुन्थ्यो नि त हौ हाम्रो, होइन? लु भन्नुहोस् त, हाम्रो युवाहरूको त कति छिटो काम गर्थेन, युवा भाइको अफिस सेटिङमा प्रमोसन अफिस सेटिङमा माग्छ, त्यसरी नै काम गर्दा पनि अफिस सेटिङमा गर्दा भयो नि त। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि हाम्रो जुन वर्क कल्चर छ, आज वर्क पुरा चेन्ज गर्नुपर्छ पक्का।
That may sound funny, but you were speaking on a very, very serious issue. I'm being joined from Shillong by editor of the Shillong Times, Ms. Patricia Mukim, who has been very vocal all along about the working culture in government offices and the functioning of governments. I'll also be joined by professionals from different backgrounds in course of the discussion to know what is their view when it comes to this issue of working culture in government offices. Coming to you, ma'am, a unique and unprecedented decision in a way by the Sikkim government. Do you think other state governments should follow the suit, or should at least come up with something that makes the employees accountable?
Of course they should. After all, you're paying salaries to people who are not performing. I don't understand Nepalese, so I don't really know what the Sikkim chief minister said, but I read in the news that he is going to create a new department called a Directorate of Coordination. Now,
Yeah.
what is the point of keeping all the non-performing employees in one pool? What's going to come out of that? This is something I haven't been able to understand, because in every other institution, especially in the private sector, you go through this 360-degree assessment, where you assess yourself, your colleagues assess you, your juniors assess you, and your seniors assess you. And based on that, you're promoted, or you've left hanging in the balance, you're never promoted, or you're kicked out of the organization. But in the government sector, you can go on and on for years together without performing and still be paid your salaries. I like what the Sikkim chief minister said. He said that this will go up to the level of the additional chief secretary, and even technicians, engineers, and others who don't perform. Their vehicles will be taken away from them and they will be paid only the salaries. I wish all the other state governments did the same thing, because you go to any government office, nothing stirs before 11 a.m. And by 4 everyone has started leaving, or even before that. And this directive by the government of Assam, that those who leave station should get permission from the deputy commissioner, I think is very, very good, because over here you find people, all of them are based in Shillong, they commute from Shillong, they go to different districts, or they leave the district by Friday or by Thursday. It's a very bad work culture. There isn't any work culture.
Absolutely. But coming again to the assessment part, do you think with years, decades of following a similar system, it is even possible any move even by the center as far as the employees is concerned is resisted? Employees unions still at the central level also are still very, very strong, Do you think any such drastic change would be easy to implement anywhere?
No, so to circumvent this, some state governments have decided to not employ government as as permanent employees. Many of them are now under contract. So I think contractual employees perform better, because they know they're being assessed, and they know that theirs is a limited tenure. Whereas these employees who know they are there on a permanent tenure, they do not care. They don't care if whether they come or don't come. Nobody takes action, and then they take leave at the drop of a hat. That is why everybody wants to get into the government sector, because life is cushy. You and me, we are working in the journalism sector. Every day we have to produce outcomes. If there are no outcomes, we will be out of the job, out of the business. But can you do that to government employees? I'm sure you can do, because the Modi government has said that it would retire non-performing employees. I think all state governments should also follow suit.
Absolutely. I'm being joined at this moment by Vishaldeep Kakoti. Vishaldeep Kakoti is an advocate of the Guwahati High Court, a young advocate. Vishal, what is your assessment of the work culture in government offices? And you just heard what the Sikkim government has decided, a separate department for non-performers. What do you think about this move, and what do you think about the working culture in government offices, Vishal?
Definitely. I remember a quote in English actually which says, "A stitch in time saves nine." And probably the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam has quite rightly understood that if loopholes at this point can be solved regarding the work culture of the different departments of the government of Assam, then definitely we can solve 9 other faults that might come in the later phase. And that is the one quote that I remember when I talk about the work culture that is currently prevalent in different government of Assam offices. The first thing that I would like to mention here is the fact that I see a sudden boost up of work which are happening in different departments of the government of Assam. For instance, if I say, for example, even in a DC office, if you go, there has been a formulation, or there has been a notion or idea that is lingering among people that if you go to the DC office, your work won't be done. And right now I remember some of the press conference that the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam has addressed, where he was very vocal about making the administrative officers, or making the people who are holding the top positions, to come in and work as a friendly options for the people who are going to the offices. And that is the reason I see there has been a definite boost up of the work culture that is currently happening in different government offices. But that doesn't deny the fact that the loopholes or the everything in the offices are clean and clear. There is still dirt lingering around in different offices. For example, if you go to offices such as the Auditor General, where all the pension related issues are done, even there are loopholes in such offices. But in most of the cases, or in most of the offices, we see that when people go, there has been a sudden change in the approach the officers are dealing with, and that is the one thing that currently the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam has been trying to do. And I'll just quote one example in this regard. I, being from the legal background, I have to deal with issues where I need to file an RTI and all. Earlier there were many complaints going on that once you file the RTI, the reports do not come in time. But I'll give you a live example, or I'll give you a good example, where I once filed an RTI in a particular office and the RTI report came in time. And probably this is the one good thing that I see. And when the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam mentioned that he wants to see Assam amongst the top 5 states of the nation, the one thing we have to be careful of is that the work culture that is prevalent in Assam. And the changes that are currently happening, or the developing stage that work are at, I can definitely say if this is the scenario, or this is the scenario that they can maintain in the coming years, and definitely Assam can be there in the top 5 states of India. So I think the work culture that is currently prevalent has suddenly become a bit student friendly or people friendly. And once the denizens starts realizing that if they go to the offices and their work can be done, that is the point they will again lay their trust upon the office bearers.
All right, I think we lost the connection with Vishal there, but of course you do think that the work culture as far as Assam is concerned has definitely improved a bit. Coming to you back, ma'am, Patricia Mukim, do you think it's the system? Because every year we have young people, the brightest of the people joining the government. We have the best, if I may say, joining the government. What happens after that? Do you think it's a system that changes everything? It's the system that is affected. It's a system that we need to change. And there's nothing actually wrong with those bright young people joining services every year.
How do you say bright young people joining government services? Just today, the High Court of Meghalaya had come up with a very strong stricture on the reservation policy, where the elite continue to get in because there's no roster system that has been created. So people who are the elite, whether they perform or don't perform, and we know how it is in Meghalaya, there is a lot of backdoor entry into government services. So how do we expect such people to perform? They've got in the easy way, and they know that whether they perform or don't perform, whether there are outcomes or no outcomes, they will continue to be there. Of course, there are a few bright people who I think will perform wherever they are kept. It's not necessary whether they are in the government or outside it. I have personally met some of these people. They work very hard, maybe because they've come in the hard way. But when it comes to government employment, we have a long legacy of backdoor entry, whether it is the police, whether it is in the state secretariat or other departments. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And of course, let me also complete by saying that this is a system that has been created. We had a chief secretary long time ago, Mrs. Trivedi, who ensured that every employee was there at 10. She was very unpopular, definitely, but she managed to bring that discipline in. So you need that sort of a chief secretary. You need somebody to go around with a chabuk. Otherwise, it doesn't work. I don't think kind words work in the system. It is so deeply flawed.
Crack the whip. I'm being joined now by Gaurav Kumar Das, IT professional, also the founder of something called co-founder rather of EduWiden. Gaurav, welcome to Northeast Live. Do you think there's something, the same question I'm asking to everyone, do you think there's something seriously wrong with the work culture in our government offices, and do you think it's time to take decisive steps to fix it? And also you heard what the Sikkim government has done, the Assam government has also taken some steps. Your reactions, Gaurav?
Okay, I will definitely not say that the work culture is perfect. If you think about it, the entire system was originally built by the British, right? And was made to make things difficult for the common masses. The British have indeed left our country, but you can still smell some of the bureaucracy arrogance among some certain government officials, if not all. If you look at the functioning of these offices, I can think of only two things. One thing is that either the employee is not skilled enough, or they are lethargic. They don't want to work. So both these categories of employees can be basically categorized as non-performing employees who do not have any empathy for the common masses. To set things straight, certain measures have to be taken. For example, the Sikkim government, as you mentioned, has decided to segregate the non-performing employees, embracing as it sounds, but this would definitely, clear the path for those sincere and honest employees who want to work, and also may give the non-performing employees a second chance, so that they can mend their ways and, renew their career. So even the Delhi government, I think a year back or so, had decided to completely digitize the evaluation system for government employees so that they can take swift and timely action. Even our Chief Minister, Mr. Himanta Biswa Sarma, Dangoria, has mentioned that employees posted at a certain district cannot travel to other districts without prior notice to the DC. He has in fact urged employees to work for at least say 10 hours in a day. He has particularly mentioned, also given an example of of an LP teacher. Just to give an example, if an LP teacher is posted in a particular remote interior district or Assam, he or she cannot leave that district without prior notice. Now, how does it help? It will probably enable that person to mingle with the crowd of that particular district, be more acquainted with the problems of that particular district, what are the problems children are facing in that particular school, because these problems will change as one moves from district to district. Those problems will be localized, and they can be more effective and more productive in providing solutions. So I think we should welcome such measures, although it may sound
absolutely,
a bit
we
harsh,
should.
but I think
everyone is accountable, everyone is answerable. Thank you so much, Gaurav Kumar Das, for your views on that. I'm being joined now by Shankar Sharma of the Sikkim Progressive Youth Forum. Shankar Sharma, first of all, what is your assessment of the work culture in Sikkim? And of course, we'll talk about Chief Minister P.S. Tamak's decision as well.
Regarding the work culture in government offices, Chief Minister of Sikkim, he himself told much about this, how bad the situation is. He was telling that even his files, even his orders are not being complied by the officer. If the situation, if the CM himself is telling that, one can easily imagine how those officials, how those employees must be responding to the common citizen. For a small routine work in office, common people has to face lots of harassment. Unless you are very close to the power corridor of the state, unless you have influence, your work will not be done in time by the officer. For a small routine work, a common citizen has to visit offices a number of times. Or the culture of bribe in the office is so rampant and so it is kind of has become.
These are allegations, yes. Let's maintain these are allegations. Nothing has been proved. Let's also, with due respect, these are allegations.
Or in a short period of time, that you have to either bribe them or you have to use your influence.
Okay. We'll not get much into that. These are still allegations. We cannot we cannot allege things. We cannot allege things that we have not proved. But do you think the move by the Sikkim government to move non-performing employees to a separate department, that will eventually yield results and also improve the work culture?
It is true that reformation in the working culture, especially in the government offices, are much needed. But the step which the government has taken recently, I don't think that it is going to solve the problem which the administration in Sikkim is facing when it comes to work culture. What the government has decided to do is that the government wants to take all the lazy officers who are not working properly in the offices to a different department. So by doing this, by taking this step, what the government effectively trying to deliver the message is that the government wants to continue to pay to the employees who are not performing. Instead of taking action against them, instead of taking action against them, what government is agreeing is that the government will continue to pay even though they are not working for which they were appointed. So this kind of reformation this kind of message is not going to help in improving the
Right, point
work
taken.
culture in
Point taken there.
government.
Point taken there. Ms. Patricia Mukim, the activist from Sikkim, has pointed out exactly what you said. They are putting people in a department, but still paying salaries to them and putting them in a separate department, which eventually will not help. But nevertheless, it is symbolic, isn't it? Nobody would want to go to the department. Nobody would want to be transferred to the department. Probably that is something which will at least go on to improve the work culture. That's what we can hope.
No, this is one way of naming and shaming people. But whether people will really be shamed is the question. In our country, people, I think, don't have much shame. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. And the other point, Nabarun, is that, in the private sector, everyone every institution has this biometrics attendance system, to check when the employees come in and when they go out. We have it in our office as well. So, why can't government install that? And
Most
why
of them
doesn't
have.
it?
Most of them have eventually.
Yeah, so that is one way of checking punctuality. But also, even if a government employee comes on time, what is that person actually doing? Is that person actually performing? What is the output per day? If we can't measure that, if we do not have a system to measure that, then it's pointless, because then what are you measuring? We have to have some very concrete, very distinct, and we are in the age of digital technology. We can measure output very keenly if we try, but provided the government wants that.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're paying salary for no output at all. What is the point? And we know that in the northeastern region, we also have government employed teachers who do not attend to their students, and they outsource their jobs to somebody else, or they don't attend at all, and nobody takes any action. There's too much of laxity, too much of license actually in the government sector.
Absolutely. Well, we can only hope that things do improve. We are not taking anything away from the government employees. Well, without them, the system will collapse. Let's also acknowledge that at the end of the day. But of course, there's always room for improvement. Thank you so much, Ms. Patricia Mukim, editor of the Shillong Times, Vishal Deep Kakoti, advocate, Guwahati High Court, Gaurav Kumar Das, of course, IT professional, and the SPIF member from Sikkim. We'll slip into a short break here.